How's it going, everyone? My name is Kyle,
And I'm Trey.
and this is the Atypical Intentions podcast.
Let's do it, man.
Honestly, I feel like that's the fifth time we've done this live, and I think it's the best intro we've gotten so far, to be honest.
Yeah, there's some smoothing out we need there. I'm not going to lie. We still don't have our punchlines. We're still navigating roles. This is a team here over at Atypical Intentions podcast.
You know, not to kind of like force a segue, but I'm going to force a segue today. Podcasting's new for us. I mean, like with the Heroes Journal, I did 22 podcasts for the Heroes Journal, so I have I have a couple reps under my belt. But we have our goats. We have the podcasts we like to listen to. We have the information sources that we like to. So there's times where I try to give verbal essays like Chris Williamson, or we try to cover a breadth of topics like some other podcast. You know what I mean? We kind of emulate other podcasters. But I would say like every time is kind of like a rep. It's an experiment. And How do we have these conversations? How do we talk in a way that is valuable? Right?
Yeah.
Because no one cares about what two buddies are just talking about. But like, how do we actually offer value?
Yeah, it's really funny when we started the podcast. I had multiple messages like, "Oh, good luck on your new endeavor. How's the podcasting going?" And just in terms of how we operate and how we navigate life, we understand that there's some serious reps take to produce anything worthwhile and meaningful. And so when they ask me this question, it makes me feel like we need to be at some point or had some deep purpose to this and some vision and all these big things. But in reality, we're both looking at this as reps for a skill that we want to improve on that leads to more impact, that leads to our capabilities of articulating value and pushing the needle forward in the basketball development space, in the youth development space. And there's just I don't know if the mindset we have around this is unique, but I think it's a common flaw that people think they get into podcasting, their podcast's going to blow up and they're going to be Andrew Schultz and they're going to be all these guys. And I'm like, no, like we're not doing this right now for mass amount of views. We're doing this for the people that want to listen and the people that are listening right now. You guys are at ground zero. This is the start of something that we plan and promise will be delivered every single Sunday, and the rep of honing our communication skills and doing something every week, that's where the true power is. And so honestly, if we're going to give anything to you listeners, anything to you viewers on YouTube, it's do the dang thing and do it consistently and start there and then iterate after you've done it a bunch.
Yeah. That's really well said. I think that the really cool thing about the position specifically you are in, and you're inviting me into your position, which I really appreciate, but it's this idea of we get to provide some value as we learn how to provide outsized value.
Yes.
Right? Like we get to find a way to let you see the pieces. So if this ends up being something massive, right, and we have thousands of episodes and people get to go back and they get to watch episode number 5 and they're like, wow, these guys were just like in the same apartment over a Zoom call, then that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
But before we move forward, I want to just say hello to our future selves, 400 episodes in the future. This is episode 5, Trey, saying what's up, and congratulations, man. You did something for a long time, and there's a lot to be celebrated. And 400 episode Kyle, man, it's been a blessing to have you on the ride.
Dude, this is actually like a landmark episode. Do you know why?
Why?
Because you're FIFA Trey. You're 5 is your thing.
Dude. You know what's crazy is I've gone away from the 5, man. I'm number 9 now, and it's an ode to our appreciation of the risk community. The 5 and the 9 in craps. Those are my go-tos.
Yeah?
When I frequent an establishment that values and considers risk.
So is that a positive spin? The risk community?
Yeah, dude. That was my way of making it PC as possible.
Yeah, yeah. If you have a problem with risk, call the Risk Anonymous hotline. Okay. Anyways, we're gonna talk about how to train for basketball
Right.
as we talk about this. Um, no, I there is. I'm trying to find the right way to say this. When you are training someone, when you are entering into someone else's journey, right? That's the best way to put it. You're entering into someone else's journey. Sometimes, and this happened to me. I actually had this is a whole other story, but you can look at them like this is what I would do. This is what I would want to do if I was in your position. Not even if what I like. This is what I would want to do. This is how I would take advantage of your circumstance, right? And a part of the humility of teaching is not just being like this is what I would do because I want that outcome for you. It's like what is the actual best outcome for you,
Yeah.
right? Like for example, the best thing that I can imagine if I was in the fourth grade would be like teach me how to do like a tween like crossover. Like if I could have mastered like my first step in fourth grade, I bet I could be a lot better of a basketball player by the time I turned high school. But learning those things probably or forcing those things on my throat would have probably made me not want to be a basketball player by the time that I was. So it's like
Yeah.
it's this struggle that you have when you're an adult because you can see it. You can see what someone needs in order to be successful at the next level, but you have to let people get there on their own.
Yeah, I think that just immediately brings me to all those like child prodigies, like the dudes that are on Ellen DeGeneres at like 5 years old for being elite at something. It's just I remember seeing some, I forget his name. Maybe his
Jay
name was
Sean Augusto.
Jay Sean Augusto,
Yeah.
Seattle Lights. He was an elite youth and like abnormally like he ran some crazy mile times because he had some cardiovascular or some condition where he just like the oxygen was just always in his muscles, so he just never get any sort of fatigue. Um, but then you look at how his career turned out. He still played Division I basketball. A lot of people don't know that. So again, that's incredible at the surface. That's so cool. But I can only just I can't help but feel a little bit bad because I know his journey didn't have as much joy as it could have about the authentic learning process and growth process and falling in love in basketball where that he was kind of robbed of because he was just forced. I don't not forced. He was just doing drills from the jump. And it's like if I were to train a young kid and now that I've been home, I've kind of got more into the training space and some of the time just trying to invest in kids and just guys in my community, the gym I work out at. There's a lot of young hoopers in Tacoma that are training there. I see a lot of different trainers. I see a lot of different things going on. And it's just got me a little curious. I mean, obviously, on my Instagram, I share some training things that I do, but it's put me more in the shoes of, okay, if I was a full-time basketball trainer, what would my philosophies be? And I helped that with my buddy Mitch. He had a middle school camp, so it was fourth through eighth grade. And one of the things I thought of just in terms of like starting a hooper at the beginning of their journey, what is the foundation they need to build? And what is most important? And so in my mind, you could build a skill foundation. You could build a jump shot form foundation. You could focus on a lot of these things. But when I'm looking at young athletes, really young, I'm talking about middle school athletes, the foundation that leads to the most life success and basketball success has to be these principle-based foundational topics like do you enjoy competition? Um, the emotions that come with winning and losing. Do you know how to communicate with your friends and teammates when you're playing basketball? Do you know how to have a letdown, have a bad game? And understanding these things build a foundation that makes it so you can actually push your skills and your basketball career a lot farther because you have this understanding of what you're doing that actually allows you to do more of it and allows you to fall in love. I think you're not even emotionally capable of loving basketball until you understand these foundational principles. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I think about how you and I have a lot of in common, but I think the thing we have most in common, the least in common,
Yeah.
is us as children. And these are all stories that we've heard, right? So there are stories of you losing a game in like middle school and you crying the whole way home, right? Like
Yep.
you just like couldn't handle the feeling of losing. And story about me, I played club soccer through all the way until high school, and there was a mix-up. So my first year playing club soccer, I was on the B team, and they put my team in the highest level of soccer in Washington, and they put the A team in the B team league.
Tough organizational.
Yeah, mess up.
Yeah, yeah,
So we got blitzed every game. Like I'm talking like we lost every game 5-1, 6-1, eight
yeah,
to 0. Like we got blitzed by like the best soccer players in Washington.
yeah.
And I remember just being on like fine. Like I was just like I would try really hard. Like I was very competitive. I wanted to win. But like I would just sit in the back of the car and I'd like sing the songs on the way home. I'd be like, "Are we going to like Starbucks to get a frappuccino?" Like I was like in a good mood. Like it didn't bother me for whatever reason. I've never had that like long tail of losing. It hasn't
Yeah.
bothered me that much.
Uh,
But yes, that's something you and I could not be any more different on.
Yeah.
Is like learning how to lose.
yeah. Do you think how has that? I'm not trying to over therapize your
Yeah.
athletic experience because I think that's something we do have to uh, lay caution to as we talk about these topics. You can't over correlate things, but do you feel like your understanding of losing as a necessary as part of the experience has that helped? Has it hurt? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I've had one race that I lost it after. I was genuinely distraught. And my whole thing was like there's always another chance to do something. And and that's kind of how I've always done it. Like it's always been just because this didn't go the way you wanted it to, there will always be something else that you were excited for that you were trying to accomplish. And that really is, I mean, that's the crux of this podcast actually is at some point you were going to play your last minute of basketball. You could be LeBron James and you could still be 42 years old and play, you will still have a last minute of basketball. And how do you translate that? Like there will be another thing to be happy about or to be sad about, and then you have to learn from it and move forward. And I've always I just have always had that thing where I'm like, okay, like who are we playing next week? What's the next challenge? What's the next thing? Yeah, it's maybe that's a superpower. I don't know. Maybe it's a weakness. I'm not sure, but I've just always felt like, oh yeah, like what's the next thing we can get better for?
Yeah, I wish that was my natural perspective, but in terms of winning and losing and bad performance, good performance, I'm a lot more like doomsday. Like I played bad, what's next is gone. Like, and it's
Yeah.
very much this, and part of that, there's this huge performance identity kind of complex in there that it's it's allowed my highs to be very high and consistent. Like I can sustain a high level of performance for a long time, but then when I have a poor performance, my string of poor performance is longer than it should be, right? Because there's some snowball effect to good and bad because of how much I value that performance. And that's something I've had to wrestle with a ton as a pro because in professional basketball, when you're getting paid to play, one bad performance, you can write it off, bad game. Two bad performances, okay, what's going on? A third is like, okay, I don't think we're looking for another option, but a couple more of these, and we are. And when your livelihoods determine on how quickly you can turn the page and get to the next thing, you have to be able to shelf that performance identity and just address it and be aware of it. And I think just the simple awareness of like this really impacts me and how I view myself and how I value myself has been a huge first step. It's a constant battle I think I faced throughout my career, and like just to connect the dots to when I was a kid, I still remember playing baseball and if I'd get pulled out of a game for a bad pitching performance, I would like throw my glove and cry. I was that kid that everyone's like, dude, holy, like looking at my parents, like, dude, get a hold of this kid. Like, and I was very, very just attached to the result. If I'd have a game and hit a couple home runs, it was like, I'm going home, I'm smiling, I'm like, I'm the man, whoop de whoop. And I think it's because I equated my value as a kid, as a person, to how I performed in that game. And do I have that completely under wraps now? Of course not. I think it's a constant thing. But being aware that this is a tendency I have allows me to be more cerebral now and kind of stop that snowball in its tracks and be able to recalibrate and refocus. And yeah, I think that's kind of the birth of a lot of my pregame journaling, a lot of my daily journaling is when that perspective gets tangled up in performance and just so tightly intertwined with it, how can you give yourself a breath to invite in that perspective so you can kind of halt that, whatever that momentum, whatever good, bad, whatever is going on.
I think that the equalizer is those pregame journals. I think that is so like one thing about like performance for me is I have had one historically good performance and I've had like a couple historically bad performances, but most of my performances have been about where people thought they could be, right? Like I've always kind of been where I should be, and I think that is because I have always had this like there will be another opportunity mindset, right? I'm not being not competitive, but I'm also like I'm not there's no desperation, right? And I like to think of like life as like an egg in your hand, right? If you hold it too tightly, you're gonna crush it. I know that people are gonna talk about the whole like you can't crush an egg, whatever, right? But like if you hold it too, let's say it's a water balloon. If you hold it too tight, you're gonna crush the water balloon, and that's not good, right? But if you're too loose, it's gonna fall right out of your hand, right? And so for you, like early on in your career, you had these massive highs and you had these massive lows because of this tension that you brought with your sport. Whereas maybe being more even keeled about it, you do limit upside and downside, and that's why I think like that journaling beforehand gives you perspective, but it still allows you to be you. And it's not even about the journaling. It's about experimenting with what you need, right? Like what does Trey need in order to be the best version of Trey on the basketball court? And it's like journaling is good, yes, but mostly journaling is good for Trey's process.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's you made a lot of good points there, especially on that point of experimentation. When someone explains their process and what works for them, a lot of times it's been vetted by their personal experience, but that can be very, very different than your experience with the thing. Maybe journaling makes you overthink more. And so that's what's hard about the today's information age and the social media is the way that creators get views and engagement is they say these aggressive takes. This is your solution because everybody wants the solution. But the real solutions are found in trying a bunch of solutions, reflecting on how they make you feel, how they affect your performance, and then picking and choosing which ones work, right? And that is what is lost, I think, in a lot of the youth development today. That's the one point I want to hit on there. But then this idea of the water balloon in your hand, squeezing too tight, it's crushed, letting go too much, it's dropped. I think that is the perfect analogy for performance, especially shooting a basketball, because a lot of the times when you see shooters get in these big slumps, you can see that they start trying to make shots so bad. And I've been there. You start missing shots and it's like, dude, I gotta make this one. And what that does is tensing you up. You're trying to squeeze that water balloon to get the result you wanted when the solution is just loosening your grip just a little bit. And I talked with, I think I mentioned him on the podcast, maybe the first episode, But with my guy Beckett Curry, he plays at Lafayette, I believe, in Louisiana. I could be incorrect, but Division I school. And he's a knockdown shooter, like killer shooter, broke all the high school records at his school. He's like a 6-foot white guy. And so him playing college basketball is impressive. And the reason he does it is he can shoot the crap out of the basketball. And he was going through the shooting slump, and he's like, dude, I started working out more. I started, documenting all my workouts. And I'm like, I've been there. Like, I've been there a lot. And what that did is made me tense in those moments when I needed to be loose and I was trying to make. And then you're just gripping on to the basketball so tight that you're not releasing it with fluidity. You're not releasing it with confidence. You're releasing from a place of doubt. And that is such a good, that water balloon is the perfect example of what athletes do, what basketball players do when they're in a shooting slump, is they try and tighten up, or they go, man, I don't even care anymore. And that's the other end of the spectrum. I don't even care anymore. And they're almost like this aggressive apathy, aggressive, I don't care. And that doesn't result either. But there's this sweet ground, this sweet space where you don't care, you're not holding on to the result, and you believe and you still work as if the result is due, but you don't hold on to the result because you know the result will come. I'll start making shots. And that is the place, the mindset as a shooter you have to be in as much as you can. And so that's what we talk about systems and journaling, because for me, that is part of my process of getting into that headspace. Write down the things that I'm really holding on to and write down the things I need to do, and that's it.
Yeah, dude. I think about this like with you specifically, because you're like my only friend who obviously is still playing sports. I'm 30 years old. If I had other friends who were still playing sports, then I'd have a pretty elite athletic friend group. And I was thinking about, so I got a personal trainer, and I was doing things that I've done before, right? I was doing deadlifts, I was doing squats, I was doing split squats, and I was thinking about all the cues that he was trying to get me to think about while I was doing this thing I've been doing for such a long time. And it made doing the thing so hard. It made like doing a split squat feel almost impossible, because I was like, is my glute engaged? Is my knee far back? Is my shin staying stable? Is my knee falling in? Is my knee falling out? Like, it's like all these different things. And it was a good workout because I was like very in my body, right? And the transference back to you is when I went with you to the training session with Josh.
Josh is my physical therapist for reference.
And Josh is like, we need to get Josh on the pod first and foremost. But Josh said a line that has like been reverberating through my brain. He said, all exercise is, all training is getting to know your body better. That's it. That's the whole purpose of it, right? In the same way that sport is just opportunity for you to give yourself stimuli to learn more about yourself, right? Who am I in a team environment? What does it take to win? What does success mean to me? How am I after loss? All of these different things. Sport is just a playground to learn those things, and training is just opportunity to learn who you are. How does your body feel in certain motions and things like that?
Yeah, and I really think like the best trainers, the best teachers are the ones that encourage you to inquire more about yourself. And okay, let's say it's a physical therapist or a strength coach, they're having you inquire more about your body. If it's a mental performance coach, someone encourage you to inquire more about your mindset. If it's a financial advisor, it's encouraging you to inquire more about your finances. It's these people that encourage you to be more aware, and that awareness is what triggers more performance. The more you can understand the situation and the challenge at hand, the more you have the capacity to do it at the best of your potential, right? It's almost like revealing all the layers of the problem you're facing. And that's exactly what I've been dealing with my injury rehab. Josh Gellert, my physical therapist, has been enlightening me on all these different systems that go into my body, into my rehab, talking about the lymphatic system, the muscular skeletal system, We've even got into some woo-woo stuff about how, because I got this crazy email from this guy talking about astrology and how March was going to be the hardest time of my life because I'm in this dead winter. And he like said my birthday, and he had my birthday, and he had all this stuff. And I was like kind of wigging out. I was like, March is going to be the hardest time. That's right after my son's going to be born. What does that mean? And then he was like, yeah, but your relationship. And he said it was going to be in the category of relationships. And it was just like really aggressive foresight on my life. And I'm like, Josh, what is this? And he's like, I was like, is this real? And he's like, whether it's real or not, it's information and data. And that was the most banger line I've heard, because it's just another something to consider. Am I going to attribute everything that happens in my life to astrology? No, but maybe I'll consider it, and it's just another thing, another kind of thing in the investigative detective that I am on my life and performance. It's another place that red string is drawn to. So very nuanced, but something I guess to consider.
Yeah. I'm going to add the last layer to this. And this is something that's going to happen later in life for people. But dude, having a partner in life is one of the largest cheat codes for perspective that you will ever have. Recently, so my girlfriend's name is Casey. I hope to spend the rest of my life with her. This will be on record. And recently I've been trying to figure out okay, what do I do with my career? How do we make more money? How do we get this, and this? And recently she just was like, hey, why do you care so much about money all of a sudden? Why? What does getting these things mean to you? And it's really made me rethink why do I care about having the watch or the house or the car or the thing or the that? And you've told me many stories of times where Carly just kind of stopped you in your tracks, and why does that matter so much to you? You've never talked about that before, or you, for some reason, you do bring that up, or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's your life partner is it knows you, knows it spends so much time with you that knows you not better than yourself, but knows you at a similar capacity as you know yourself, but from a third party perspective. And that can be very, very enlightening. And so I reiterate your point that your partner, the people you spend the most time with, your circle, those are some of your most important decisions, because you want people in your corner that give you authentic and real insights, and they question your thought process, and they look at that investigative board that you've been, all day long, you've been connecting the strings, and you've been trying to problem solve what it is you want out of this experience that we call life, and they challenge it, and they support when they should, and they investigate when something doesn't look right, and that's so valuable. And I think we can even we can relate that to a business relationship. We can relate that to a player-coach relationship. If it's close enough, you can relate that to a player-trainer relationship. That's why personally, I think people have said, Trey, you should get into coaching. I kind of like the player-trainer dynamic relationship a little bit better, because your priority can be development and progression without this direct pressure of performance and winning. So you can connect on a different level without this outside pressure. So you can kind of have a different intention. But again, that relationship and how you challenge the other person and how they challenge you in this back and forth is what creates the dynamicism that is kind of like navigating life,
Yeah. So I'm reading this. This is the perfect segue. So I'm reading this book called Wisdom Takes Work by Ryan Holiday. Ryan Holiday is I'm a big fan of Ryan Holiday. He writes about this philosophy called Stoicism, which is very much the control over one's emotions. Not necessarily the ignoring of one's emotions, but the control over the emotions themselves. And one of the chapters of this book he titles it "Choose Your Classroom." because the best thing about universal truths is that they find their way into every aspect of your life, right? If you think that things happen in a vacuum, it's impossible, right? Like the same principles that you will practice on a sports team are the things you're going to practice as if you're a high school teacher, if you're a coach, if you're a corporate employee, if you're like a public servant, if you're a billionaire, right? Like all of these things, right? Like these are key lessons that you're learning. I'm guessing if you're listening to this podcast, then you have chosen the classroom of basketball or sport, right? And the greatest disservice you can do to yourself is think that was a fun chapter. Now to start from scratch in the next thing, right? You chose this classroom. Learn from it. Allow yourself to engage in that classroom. And the last thing I want to add to this is I tell this story all the time, and I probably have already told the story, but I had a college professor who he was reading my senior thesis and he was giving me notes before I like went back to do my edits to then turn it in. And he was like, I've had conversations with you. Like you talk way more eloquently than you write. Like why? Like why do you use such dumb language in your writing and you speak so well? And I told him straightforward, like, I don't want you to think when you're reading my paper, this guy had a thesaurus next to his computer and was just like looking up a fancier word for the same thing. And he looked at me and he said, that's stupid. You're smart enough. Write the way you talk, at the very least. And it was the permission to be good. Like it was the permission to try to be great. It was the permission to allow myself to actually try to gain a level of mastery. And that's what sport offers you. Sport offers you an opportunity to say, you know what, I'm putting my stake in the ground and I am saying I'm going to be great at this thing. And if you don't think that will ripple through the rest of your life, right? Because the second that you decide that greatness is your standard for yourself, it will be hard for you to be less than great at the other things in your life. That is a resounding fact, right? And the second that you take your foot off the gas in one thing, you will find that your foot is also off the gas on other things.
Right? Yeah, that idea of like putting your stake in the ground and saying this is the standard I set for myself and greatness is my expectation. When you do that in athletics, the stakes aren't that high. The stakes are not. It's more at the professional level because, okay, maybe you lose your job or something on poor performance, but the stakes aren't that high. You can say I'm going to be great at basketball, and then you can have a poor performance in high school, and then what do you have to deal with? Going home to your nice house, or going home to your family, or hanging out with your buddy after the game. The stakes aren't high, but when you plant your flag and say greatness is my expectation, greatness is my standard, and you do that and you commit to that, now what you're doing, you're committing to the process of learning how to be great at something. And that in itself is the superpower. That's why we talk about how athletics emulates life on this podcast, because it's the perfect sandbox because you can't get hurt in it that bad. And so it's like, why not experiment? Why not figure out your process of becoming great and just like try things, trial and error. Go try that YouTube trainer's video, that workout that he told you to do, and look like an idiot at the gym. Who cares? Okay, maybe you get, I don't think you can get worse. Maybe you don't get as much better as you probably could have if you did a really good workout or if you had someone directing you. But you experimenting is the start to you being able to do that in other avenues in life, and that leads to exponential growth and a better chance of being successful in any avenue in life, right?
Bars. That's a bar. I'll give an example. I want you to tell me a workout you used to do in high school or college that like would just make you feel like you were good. I'm gonna tell you what mine was, but I want to hear what yours is.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I think the obvious thing that I did, especially early in my college career, was I would shoot on the gun a lot. And the gun, you guys don't know what the gun is. It's basically this big net that goes around the basketball hoop, and you shoot, the ball falls in, and there's a little like mechanism that passes the ball back out to you. There's a lot of different setting options on the gun. You can get movement. You can have it move each pass. All these different things. You can change speed of the pass. You can do a lot of things with it. It's a tool. But I treated the gun my first year or two in college as if I got up 500 shots, it was a good workout, and I felt good about myself. A lot of times that means it was 100 spots in the same spot, 100 shots in the corner, 100 shots at the wing, 100 shots up top, 100 shots at the wing, 100 shots in the corner. Good day of work. I got better today. And looking back now, the amount of time it take to shoot 500 shots in the same spots, I could have been spending that time a lot more intentionally and doing things that actually would push me to get better, even if I was by myself. Or I could use the gun in a way that would push me more. Maybe I change the location of the pass each shot. And my thing I'm going to work on is every time, it's a different shot every time. It has to be a different footwork every time. Maybe that's more harder cardiovascularly, or maybe I'm in the corner. I turn up the time per pass a little higher. First one's a 3, next one has to be a mid-range, next one has to be a floater. It's a different shot every time. First shot in the corner is off of a fade. Second one's off a back pedal. Like there's so many ways that could have been more creative, but I was okay with getting my 500, shooting the same spot for 100 shots, and trying to get a high make percentage.
You know, it's so interesting because yes, right? Like there was a better workout to do. But also, those workouts got you to where you are, right? Like you were able to benefit, you because you were owning it. You were saying, "What I need these 500," and you were taking ownership and you were experimenting with how can I shoot if I get 500 up every single day or whatever it might be.
But then there's also an aspect to it, like maybe you need an easier workout like that, so that you can get some confidence of seeing the ball through the hoop. Maybe you need to start believing you're a good shooter, so you need to do something simple that gives you a high chance of a make rate and success rate. And maybe that's what you need. That's okay. Maybe that workout's good for you, but you need to know why it's good for you. You need to know why you're doing the dang thing. It's like the mindless show up to the gym with no intention, do the thing that feels difficult. In terms of shooting on the gun, it was just the number of shots felt difficult. Like my arms would get tired from shooting, but does that mean I actually got better? Because I was shooting in an environment that was so predictable, and then I'd get to the game, and that is not basketball is not a predictable sport, right? So it's like, how can you incorporate unpredictability into your training? How can you incorporate variation? How can you do? It's even think about how you condition, right? I see guys doing this all the time. Guys will run miles to get in shape for basketball and then get on the court and not be in basketball shape after they ran miles because it's a different type of cardiovascular shape, okay? But if you're running the miles and you want to just use that to elevate your baseline, that's one thing. But if you want to get sport-specific shape, maybe you want to try something different. So, I thought I'd mention running because, but
I like to run. That's why.
Yeah, you're a kind of.
Yeah, I mean, like, so the thing about running training is, it's so like, no one's gonna ask you to do it, right? No one's gonna get you up. No one's gonna wake you up and make you go for the run. No one's gonna force you to do it, and it's not fun necessarily. So you kind of are always a little tweaking with like, not just what should I do, but the other part of it is what will I actually do? You know, like what is the work that when it's all said and done, what will I actually do? It's the same thing with like dieting, right? Because there's the perfect diet, sure, but then there is what are the things that maybe are against my diet, but I have to incorporate so I actually do it, right? If that means I have a brownie twice a week and that's the thing I get to look forward to, or I front load all my protein so that way at the end of the day I get to have like maybe a fun meal or something like that, right? You have to do something to make your training palatable, which is a part of experimentation, right? little thing can I offer myself? What carrot can I offer myself so that I will consistently put 6 months, a year worth of training until I can actually implement my learnings?
Yeah, that's such a good point. I uploaded a what I eat in a day in my life as a professional basketball player during a training day, right? And during that video, I posted I think 3 or 4 weeks ago. I was just filming, and I was filming what I was eating throughout the day, and my wife made blueberry muffins, and out of like white flour, sugar, butter, like they're not whole grain, they're not whatever. And while I was filming, she's like, "I want you to eat a muffin." And I was like, "Oh, but what if that would set a bad example on the vlog?" And I go, "Wait a second. That in itself is the example. I eat a blueberry muffin and I don't feel shame for it because I understand the why. My wife, the benefit of my wife asking or wanting me to try her blueberry muffin, might have to, that sounds a little funky, but try the blueberry muffin. The benefit of what that gives her is more important than the negative impact of eating a blueberry muffin, I guess. And that constant equation that goes on in your head, that is understanding and owning your development. I can do A or I can do B, benefits of A, benefits of B, potential pain points of A, potential pain points of B. How does that all relate to a decision that I make that aligns with the intention I have for my life and my training?
Yeah, and also, like, I'm guessing the blueberry muffin tasted pretty good.
Wasn't bad. Wasn't a bad blueberry muffin.
So you also got to enjoy a blueberry muffin.
Yes,
right?
That too.
So when I started running, when I started trying to like be competitive, it was my sophomore year. So my brother was a senior, and my goal, and him and his 4x4 relay team would qualify for state every year. So I was like, I want to go to state with my brother. I want to be there for the last one, but I wasn't going to be on the relay team. I had to make it as an individual, right? Like, which is a little bit harder. And so we would go to school every day. We'd get there at 5 a.m. and we'd go for a 4-mile run before school, shower at school, and then we'd go to track practice in the afternoon. And that was my training. I was like, I'm going to do this. And then on top of that, I thought, well, if I beat everyone in that 4-mile run in the morning, then I'm proving to myself that I am better than them, thus being good enough to run fast enough. It was like this mental thing. And I remember, like, we were probably like a month, maybe 6 weeks out from the end of the season. I've been doing this for like 3 or 4 weeks, and my coach was like, "Hey, you look tired in the workout," because I had run 4 miles as hard as I could, right? And there's that hill going up to Juanita,
Yeah.
and I would just like destroy that hill, right?
Yeah.
And I was beating my brother, and if anyone else who wanted to join, I was beating them by like 3, 4, 5 minutes on this run.
Yeah.
I was just like dogging them, right?
Right.
And my coach was like, "Hey, like, I love that you're running in the morning. I love that you're getting extra running in, but like, running as hard as you can every time you put your shoes on probably won't make you better at running."
Yeah, you didn't understand the equation.
But I needed to do that. I wouldn't give myself any different. I wouldn't go back and give myself new information.
Yeah.
I would say, because the thing is, like, in my head, I was like, running easy and running hard hurts. So why not hurt the most?
Yeah.
Right? Like, why not be in the most pain? If I'm going to feel pain anyways, why not feel like I'm getting the most out of it?
Yeah.
And that was my mentality. And like, I had to wait. It wasn't until college I was able to like unlearn that and learn how to easy run and do all this stuff. But this was a part of my experimentation, right? Like, even over the summers, I would get up at 5 a.m. I had an alarm set at 5 a.m. every single day, and I would go for at least a 5-mile run every day. And people are like, "Why are you doing that?" And I was like, well, I never have anything else planned at 5 a.m. I've never had someone else competing for my time at 5 a.m.
Yep.
And so therefore, I will always have that slot open, so I'll always go for my run. Yeah. And that was part of me with experimentation with boundaries, right? I was experimenting with, how do you get the things you want to get done.
Yeah, it's part of that the mindset behind waking up early. It's like in performance, I'd say sleep is one of the biggest components. If you're actually going for peak performance, a lot of time it's the sleep, right? But there's an aspect of waking up early and that confirmation in your brain that you're a dog and you're doing things that other people aren't willing to do. There's an immense value in that. So the equation is, how much sleep can I sacrifice for this feeling of I'm a dog, this affirmation of who I think I am. I do hard things that other people aren't willing to. Okay, but I need to sleep. And that's something I've had to navigate a lot, especially in my off seasons, because I have the perspective that I have so much to grow in basketball, just being that I'm very versatile and I just feel like I have a much higher ceiling than where I'm currently at. And so a lot of times I equate my way of getting there of doing difficult things that other people aren't willing to do. And part of my realization is, yes, there are time for that. And there's also time to sleep and let your body recover and maybe sleep until 10 and kick that morning routine, tell it to kick rocks. Because in the equation, I needed that 10 hours of sleep that night for me to be even capable of waking up the next morning. That's the idea of your rest days are really rest days and your work days are really work days. It's understanding that equation.
Yeah. And I think that the real dog, especially like in high school and college, I think that when you're around people who want to hang out late, the real dog is the person who says, I'm done hanging out, I'm going to bed, right? Like, the real dog is like, I am willing to miss out on all the fun, and you won't see me train because I'll be up early and you will be asleep.
Are you tooting your own horn on this? Just for reference, Kyle was the friend in high school when we'd all stay up till 1:00 playing 2K. He would just leave from the sleepover. We were having a sleepover, and Buddy would tap out at like 10:30, and we're like, "Where's Kyle?" "Oh, sorry, man. I got a 5 a.m. workout." That we wouldn't see him. We wouldn't even see him leave. And he'd do his whole training day, and that's I think why we're such good friends now. The willingness of you to do that in that moment, I didn't appreciate to the extent I appreciate it now, because it says a lot about how you view your goals and your dreams and your priorities and the things that you deem important. You will say no to the other things that hurt those things. And that's hard because sometimes the other things are the things we want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And it wasn't without its like scars, right? Like, by the time I was finishing college, I would have nightmares. Like, these are like legitimate, like I'd wake up in a sweat, nightmares, where I would be at an event with my family or I would be hanging out with my friends. And in my dream, the day would go on and I didn't get a chance to go for my run. Like, this was like I would genuinely like I didn't get my training in, like what, like, and I'd move around my schedule, and I would forecast out like, well, if I didn't do this run, then I won't run this fast, and I won't do this thing, and I won't do this thing. And I would like wake up and I'd be like stressed out. I'd be worried. It'd be like 1 a.m. I'd go put my shoes on because I sleepwalk too. So I'd like go and like put my shoes on. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, it's like 1 a.m. Like, that didn't actually happen.
Yeah.
But I had this worry that if I missed out on my training, then I would miss out on this thing that I cared about. And so that's the experimentation taken too far, right? That is you have over prioritized performance, and you have under prioritized being a human being. And that's like, and so I learned that is my line. My line is be a human.
Yeah, and maybe that's where your performance, how I was saying I have the performance identity thing. Maybe your priority or your performance identity thing manifested itself in how meticulous you were about your preparation and how you over correlated preparation to performance to the point of a fault, right? I think it's the opposite of moderation is for cowards. There's a sweet spot in everything. Nothing is inherently good. Nothing is inherently bad in terms of performance, but there's a level when anything good can become bad and anything bad can become good, I guess, you know?
Yeah, it's like it's overindulgence, right? Overindulgence in every scenario is probably not the best.
Yeah.
And you can overindulge in like
Discipline.
self-discipline, but it's not even discipline at that point,
Yeah.
right? Because you're being
Yeah.
undisciplined about your discipline. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like it's almost like a masochistic desire for discipline,
Yeah.
but you're punishing yourself for wanting rest.
Yeah.
Like why would you do that? Right?
Yeah, it's what's why a lot of guys struggle with rest days, because it's like, no, if I want to achieve my goals, I can't ever take a break. And it's like, no, you're missing it.
Yeah.
You will achieve your goals better if you take a break. You're missing. You're changing the goalpost. You're changing your target. Your target turned from performance to your target is I just want to work hard.
Yeah.
And it's the exact point where the guys that go in the gym and get on the gun and they shoot 1,000 shots every day and they don't get better because their target became getting the shots up. Their target wasn't becoming the best version of themselves, and everything that, kind of accompanies that.
Yeah. So this is actually going to be my first podcast where I give a call to action, everybody. I'm gonna give a call to action.
Let's rock.
If you watch this and you are someone who's trying to get better at something, my guess is basketball. But if you were one of the people that is on the business side and you want to learn, you want to do that, this next week, I want you to take your goal, write it down, identify where you are in route to that goal. So I'll use weight loss as a really easy example. If your goal is to be a certain weight, let's say for me it's 175 pounds, then I want you this week to go and weigh yourself in that scenario. I weigh 190 right now. And I want you to write out 3 things that you think you can do from now until next week and say I think this will make a difference. I think this will help me get to where I want to go. And you email it to us, and we will give you a discount on the Atypical website. How does that sound?
That's a deal. Deals.
Email it to us. Just identify your goal, identify where you are, and write out what you think. Don't go online and listen to a trainer and give us a PDF that they gave you. Don't go on YouTube and watch. Tell me what you think will get you from point A to point B. Give yourself a plan, and then the last thing is give yourself a way to assess how it went. Give yourself a place of reflection.
Yeah, give a reflection timeline. That's a good one.
And if you do that, not only will you get a discount, obviously, or honestly, email us and then tell us what you want. Because my guess is that not very many people are going to do this. Yeah. So tell us what you want, but we'll try to make it happen.
We'll have a negotiation about.
Yeah, we'll negotiation. But the first thing is identify what you want, identify where you are, give yourself some action steps, and then reflect on it.
Yep.
And that's the process. That is the experimenting process with a goal. That's it.
Yep.
That's the whole thing. So
we'll do this. First person that emails that, we'll give them a Atypical workout log on the house.
On the house.
First person that does it. I'm not going to say when the first person does it. So you might be the 30th or you might be the first.
It's true. And yeah.
All right. Well, that was fun. Again, we talked about it a little last week. You can expect guests on the podcast by the end of January, early February, depending on when Ivy is born. Ivy's going to be my son. And that'll kind of dictate the schedule moving forward. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I think there's a lot of valuable takeaways from this that people can apply. I think there's cool differing perspectives between me being a pro athlete, you being a high-level businessman, high-level friend, and high-level human being. And so hopefully, again, this is a podcast is a work in progress. We don't think we're anywhere where we're going to be at episode 400. So again, hi, episode 400, Trey. It's good to meet you. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. So cheers, guys. As always, get uncomfortable and live atypical.
See ya.